in 2016, the annual NATO summit took place in Warsaw, and Poland was instrumental in creating a new coalition of NATO member states that were more prone to focus on the hard defense on NATO's eastern flank. So the so-called Bucharest Nine format was created, made up of 9 states on NATO's eastern flank, the 3 Baltic states, the 4 Visegrad states, meaning Poland, Czechia, Slovakia, and Hungary, and then also Bulgaria and Romania further down south. They joined forces before the summit, came up with a joint stance and put pressure on the rest of NATO to create these, later it was called the NATO Enhanced
Forward Presence, yes,
presence.
And these various battle groups dotted around this part of the world. There's one in Poland.
Yes.
Lithuania has one.
These multinational battalions were created, as you mentioned, one in each of the 3 Baltic states, one in Poland. However, battalions are still quite small. We're talking about 1,000.
I think it's a gesture, isn't it? And it becomes more complicated if I'm a Russian. If I'm a Russian, sorry, I don't know. If I'm a Russian, I accidentally shoot a Bulgarian soldier, well, somebody might say it's an accident. If I'm a Russian, I accidentally shoot an American soldier, it's a bit more complicated.
Yes.
Because the Americans take this sort of thing very seriously. So I think that's it's like a tripwire, another tripwire, I suspect.
However, after the invasion in 2022 and last year's summit in Madrid, NATO summit, there was a decision to expand these battalions into brigade size instead, so meaning 5,000 soldiers. Some had even higher ambitions. The Estonian Prime Minister, Kaja Kallas, came into the negotiations demanding division-size forces, so 20 to 25,000 troops. This is still also Poland's end goal, to get a full division, NATO division stationed in Poland, also to be stationed permanently, because for some reason the NATO-Russia Founding Act from 1997 is still in place. It stipulates that there are some limitations to exactly what kind of troops can be stationed in these new eastern member states of NATO. Also, technically, there should be no permanent presence according to the NATO-Russia Founding Act. Yet there have been steps taken to move away from this without terminating the Founding Act officially. Just last year, Camp Kościuszko was created in Poznań, here in Poland. It's the headquarters of the 5th Corps of the US Army. That is a permanent structure that is now here. However, that is a command and control center, so to say. We would still need in Poland these large logistics centers where you can keep hundreds and hundreds of heavy military vehicles, whether it's infantry fighting vehicles, tanks, or other weapons. So there is still the need for an expansion of NATO infrastructure in Central and Eastern Europe. With this Madrid summit of 2022, there was also an expansion that these multinational battalions that we mentioned earlier that were located in the 3 Baltic states and Poland, they were also expanded to Bulgaria, Romania, Slovakia, and Hungary. So additional countries were taken into this form of cooperation. However, those countries, to be honest, they are less at risk than Poland and the Baltic states, as we simply share a border with Russia through Kaliningrad, or in the case of the Baltic states, with at least Latvia and Estonia share that direct border up in the northeast. Poland and Lithuania, on the other hand, share a border with Belarus, which since 2022 is full of Russian troops and is
and allegedly more recently full of Russian nuclear weapons.
Yes, which is another challenge for NATO. There hasn't really been much of a response. Usually there is, both in diplomacy and in military strategy, there is a tit-for-tat strategy. You did this, I respond with something similar. Poland naturally has been for years saying that it should be taken in by the so-called nuclear sharing program of NATO. There are nuclear weapons on the territories of Turkey, of Italy, of Netherlands and Belgium. Even if they are not in the hands of these states, they are not the ones that decide whether they can press any buttons, so to say. But it does have some deterrence effect, and it sends a signal. It's the same with Belarus. They will also not be in control of pushing any buttons. That will be still a decision that has to be taken in Moscow. But the fact that the weapons are already stationed on their territory, it does have some deterrence. It does shorten the amount of time that the weapon would need to take from firing to arriving at destination. So I think that the Poles will be pressing more and more in the coming months and years.
Well, of course, as you say, they've got the NATO summit coming in a few weeks. It's very much a moving target, but thank you for sharing your thoughts with us so far, because as usual, we've been defeated by the clock.
Thank you.
There we are, defeated once more by the clock, but it's a very interesting topic, NATO development. It's sort of, as I always say, living history. Thank you for spending time with us today. We look forward to seeing you next time on Poland Daily History.